Good evening on this Sunday night. It's the evening after the night before, Jay, not the morning anymore. We've had a bit of a rest today. We're normally first off the mark, aren't we? Trying to beat everybody out there for the reaction, but we've had a bit of a chilled Sunday today, haven't we? It was a busy night last night. We had UFC and boxing, but we're here for our Sunday night review of the weekend's action. Obviously, there's just one card really for us to tear into. But first off, mate, how's things? How's your Sunday been? You well?
Not bad, man. Not bad. I've spent most of the day recovering from last night's fight night. But it was a large concentration of fights crammed into... I mean, I was sat there at 11 o'clock. Like, okay, then what now?
Yeah, well, yeah. We used to stay up to 3, 4 in the morning.
Normally, I'm filling an hour until I've got another show, or I'm get catnapping or something until there's another show. We were done, so it was early to bed. But yeah, it's fantastic night of fights. I mean, I know there was only one boxing card, but I mean, it delivered for me. You know, I've given it a lot of stick myself in the lead up, and I know other people have, and you know, people have been saying it's underwhelming, and you know, it could be better, but you know, the fight sort of lived up to not much expectation, to be fair. So they sort of surpassed a lot of people's expectations. I've not seen any sort of negativity around it for the fights themselves. Maybe other issues that we may touch on either this evening or on the No Punches Pulled podcast. But overall, I think a fairly successful and much needed successful show for Matchroom Boxing.
Yeah, I think so. Now, obviously, their next card's on November 30th, I think, in the UK, Sonny and Galal. But on to last night, mate. Obviously, while we wait for things to warm up, we'll maybe start down the card. Obviously, William Crawler. Again, I know he's your mate. Obviously, him and his brother. The combination seems to be working fantastic for them both at the minute. 50 seconds, I think, was all it took last night. It was a beautiful. I know, you know, he's not fighting the best of the best right now, but he's on his way, working his way up through the ranks. But he looks a serious contender, mate. Yeah,
I know his brother well. You know, I mean, he's doing everything that he's supposed to do. You know, he's turning up. He's putting on good performances. I mean, he can only do, it's a cliche, I get that. He can only beat who's in front of him. But it's the way he beats. Yes, Luca, my favourite troll has just popped up. No, for me, as I said, you know, he's done more than I expected him to do. I didn't expect him to get the kid out of there within sort of 30 seconds, 57 seconds or whatever it was. Hits very hard. His older brother's wasn't really known for, you know, for being a concussive puncher, more of a volume puncher. But his opponent was 6-2, you know, and Williams 4-0. So I don't know what people expect. He's not got a massive amateur background. He's not got an Olympic pedigree, you know. So I don't think you can rush him through. And he also sells a heck of a lot of tickets. So you've got to bring him through properly, because I strongly believe that William can bring some big nights back to Manchester, as his brother 100%. Did, you know, and pack out arenas. So it's about manufacturing the brand, sort of marketing it properly and giving him incremental steps instead of just throwing him under the bus and hoping that, you know, it comes up trumps, because I'd hate to see him tested too soon and it sort of set him back. Anthony did that a couple of times where he went in for fights and, you know, he possibly went in a little bit too early and had, you know, a couple of lumps and bumps in the road. But we all know that, you know, he surpassed everybody's expectations and became a world champion. And I'd love to see his brother sort of following in his footsteps and see if he can get those big fights and the big nights back in Manchester. But overall, you know, I was impressed by his performance.
Yeah, 100%. So I think it's important for Matchroom and British boxing on the whole, actually, that we get some more talent coming through Manchester, because, you know, this new co-op arena is going to be what the O2 is to London, isn't it? You know, Birmingham's becoming a bit of a hotbed again for British boxing. You've got quite a few, obviously London's where it's always been at, but it's important that, especially for the Northwest, which is, you know, Manchester and Liverpool fighters that have always produced big fighters. You know, hopefully we can have people like William leading the next crop coming through, mate. But speaking of Manchester fighters, anyway, Campbell Hatton got back in there with Jimmy Joe Flint. Oh, hang on. So Luke has asked, does Ant have many fighters he trains? Obviously Dixon, but any others apart from his brother as well? Jay, you might know that more.
Is it Garen Croft? I think he trains. There's a few. I know he's involved with amateurs as well. At Fox, I think it's called Fox ABC. But yeah, he's a couple. But his most established fighters are obviously Rhiannon Dixon and his brother William. It's not a massive stable, but he's a new trainer, so I think he
does a lot of work on TV, doesn't he, as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'd hate to see his diary and his schedule. He seems to be always working. He's either on TV as a pundit or he's in big fights.
He does a lot of the Wasserman shows, doesn't he? And even Queensbury cards he seems to be at as well. Definitely.
He gets where water can't, does
yeah, absolutely. Fair play to him. He's earned the right. Campbell Hatton back in with Jimmy Joe Flint, obviously rematch of earlier on this year.
Yeah.
Again, by all accounts, another close fight, but we're expecting to see an improved Campbell after moving down to Essex, or travelling down to Essex, should I say, to travel to train with Barry Smith and Ben Davison. But wrong end of the result again, Jay, last night in a close one again, it has to be said. But what are your thoughts and where next for Campbell?
Yeah, I mean, I've watched it a couple of times. I thought he nicked it, if I'm honest. I thought he did enough to take it. The only thing for me that I noticed about him, his style had changed a little bit, but he was getting caught with his uppercut, and he just, even at the time, he wasn't initiating any change. So he was getting caught with it and then going back to the same position, getting caught with it again, back again. And there was a couple of phases in the fight where he got caught with like 3 or 4 uppercuts in succession, and it was like he didn't know what to do other than hold, get himself in close and hold. But he wasn't, I'm not making out I'm some flipping Customado or Emmanuel Stewart, and I know that much about what I'm talking about, but I just say it as I saw it, and he just kept walking forward, putting his head down, taking a shot, and then going back in in exactly the same position. So there were a lot of mistakes that he was making there. I don't know what to think about him, because he does things, and I think to myself, he's got something here. And I don't mean
there's something in there, isn't there? And he's only 23, so he's
the kid can fight. I just don't think that he potentially follows instructions as well as he could, because at some point
it must be tough having your dad having all that success as well. It's got to be tough.
I mean, but he knew that when he turned over. So it's all right to use it for the bump up, right? You can't then. I'm not saying.
Yeah, well, look at Ben and Eubank are great examples of that.
You know what you're getting into, so you can't say that the crown weighs heavy because you knew that, or if you weren't ready for that, then you shouldn't have turned over. I don't think he's ever said anything like that, and I'm not saying he has, but he's never going to emulate his dad. His dad was one of a kind. Ricky Hatton just hit at the right time, got the right fights, and it's not transferable like that. We've seen again, Ben and Eubank are not even half as popular as what the dads were. In terms of where he goes next, I mean, another similar kind of level fight. I mean, he's not even at British level yet, and he's struggling. I think he's could do with potentially boxing on some shows abroad, or maybe out of the limelight. Maybe, I know this sounds daft, but maybe an 8-rounder somewhere, or another 10-rounder, but on an away show somewhere out in the sticks where there's not as much focus on him. So I know he wasn't the headline fight, but he got a lot of coverage this week because he's in Manchester. His dad's Ricky Hatton, so maybe needs to step away from the limelight for a bit and just regroup. And then, because he's not been with the new camp that long, really. Coming into a rematch, I don't think they should have done that. I think they should have took a fight somewhere else to try things out. But, he lost. He'll have the L on his record. For me, I thought he scraped to win. But I wasn't overly impressed. But, I never really have been with him. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful manner, but he hasn't ever shown me anything that makes me think, wow, or even sit up and take notice, to be honest. I think he's very average. And again, I mean that with the utmost respect. He's 1,000 times better than I was. But yeah, I don't see him winning anything, even like a British title at this rate, unfortunately.
I'm with you. Big up DJ Pat. Hope you're well in Sweden, my friend.
Pat, sorry,
having a good Sunday. Jay, my worry with Campbell is lack of power as well. Like, he really doesn't have any power. He doesn't seem to be able to push someone back, when you don't need an equalizer. Paulie Malignaggi, for God's sake, fought the top level of boxing for donkey's years without having any
but
punching
he
power.
had fast lateral movement, fast feet.
For sure. But you need
something,
something, don't you? You need an equalizer, like you say, can be speed and timing and ring IQ, craft, whatever it is. Whereas Campbell doesn't have any of the above, unfortunately for him. And one thing he does have, those he's got heart. Them two fights, and to be fair to him, just taking the rematch so immediately, fair play to him for that, because he probably could have gone round the circuit doing 4 and 8 rounders, like you say, or whatever it was. But no, fair play he took the plunge. It didn't work out. Okay, fair enough. Now you're gonna have to go back down a level and see where you're at. But ultimately, your career on TV right now and stuff like that's probably, unless you want to be used as an opponent, where a 23-year-old shouldn't really be being used as an opponent right now. I don't really think that's. I don't think. I think he needs to go. Yeah, exactly, Pat. Completely agree. He needs to just go, maybe fight on some of them smaller shows. Rebuild his way back up. He might lose his Matchroom deal potentially. I don't know. I don't really see what
need him. They need him for Manchester. I think they're looking at having William Crawler, Hatton in a year or two and building him up. I think he needs to just go away and train.
Well, he said right hand to God. He's bringing. We'll talk about the main event obviously now, but he said right hand to God. Jack Catterall will fight for a world title in Manchester next.
Yeah, did Sam
anyway,
Jones?
We'll move to Catterall Prograis. We may as well.
Sam Jones say right hand to God. He didn't say that about Catterall, and then Prograis played it. So I'd take Eddie with a pinch of salt. Right hand to God.
It was a bit of a play on words.
I just think that Campbell and Hart's not enough. Hart will get you killed. It don't matter how big your balls are. If there's no fight or substance behind it, then there's it needs to go away and just be Campbell Hatton, the novice, fighting, trying to build his way up. I'd like to see him fight on some non-televised shows. I know Matchroom don't do that, but maybe, what is it, GBM or GMB, the smaller promotion. Yeah. They do some non-televised cards, or in the back arse of nowhere on DAZN. Not like last night where he's in front of a large TV audience. Maybe a smaller show, even if it is on just DAZN, but somewhere where he's more out of the limelight, further down the card, maybe a curtain jerker somewhere on a smaller show, just to get him used to being in scraps without heaped extra pressure on him. His dad sat front row in an arena. I know his dad never boxed there, but in theory, his dad filled out arenas in that city, not too far away from there. I feel sorry for him, to be fair. I feel a little bit sorry for him. Like I said, I thought he won last night anyway, regardless of me slagging off his skill set. But I just think he got shit end of a stick on the cards, and, he needs to rebuild or try something else. And that's not me saying he needs to throw it up. He's not good enough. But if his heart's not in to go and slog and rebuild, then do something else. That's what I'm saying. But if he isn't for it, then go away and do what's needed, kid, and come back and show us what you've got. Ram my shitty words down my throat, kid.
Yeah, absolutely. Reece Bellotti had a few pleasantries towards another Manchester man, Michael Gomez Jr. We're not going to talk much about it because it wasn't a fight.
Just
in the
stupid,
end.
Ray. I mean, is Bellotti a mob? Is he an idiot? Is he an idiot?
I know, but in fairness, probably not a good idea for them to ram a mic down his throat when he's frustrated.
I don't know why they didn't just cut it, because he made himself look stupid. Gomez,
yes, I agree with that.
You can't fake a kidney infection. You can't fake that shit. So the doctor,
and he's all riled up because he's ready to fight, and then he doesn't get a fight, and he probably thinks he might not get paid.
They've just built it into a bigger fight, haven't they? I think Eddie knew what he was doing.
Oh, it'd be big now, to
a bigger fight. I don't believe that Gomez swallowed and jacked an hour before. Why would he do it? That makes no sense. Makes absolutely no sense. It's just
he sold 1,000 tickets as well.
Yeah, and kidney infections are easy to spot as well. They've probably done a piss test, had bellyache, and they've tested it.
Your immune system's not going to be on fire when you're draining yourself to make weight, is it, either? Super fed or whatever.
But it builds up the fight into something it wasn't in the first place, which is a big fight. It wasn't a massive fight, but it's bigger now, isn't it? Definitely more people will want to watch it, especially after Bellotti giving it the big one on the mic and dropping all the expletives, getting Eddie earned 25.
Eddie Oladipo wasn't too pleased with him, was he?
No, No, not at all.
And then Eddie goes, "Oh, language."
After the F
It's
bombed
like
and shit
it's like me to you on the watch-alongs. Oh dear. And right, let's go then. Main event. Let's get a few things off our chest with it. So Jack Catterall beats Regis Prograis by 7 points on two judges' scorecards and 9 points on the other. I put a few feelers out there on Twitter today to see where people are at with it. I said I didn't agree with I agreed with the winner. I think it was fair that Jack Catterall won the fight, but the actual scorecards were nothing short of horrendous. Regis went out there and put up a good performance last night. It might not have been a winning performance, but he put up a very good performance. And for him to only get a couple of rounds really on all of the judges' scorecards, for me, it's just like, we should be crediting Jack Catterall because he was up against it last night for a good bit of it, and then he pulled out a worldy ninth round. He dropped Regis hard twice, and he was gone. Really, to be fair, I think the bell kind of saved him a little bit after the second knockdown right at the end of the round. But again, we're kind of talking about judging rather than, it wasn't a great fight by any stretch of the imagination, and we'll come on to Jack Catterall's style and the rest of it afterwards. But I know I haven't had a chance today, so I've been quite busy to rewatch it. But I know you have rewatched it since we watched it on the watch along last night. So what's your assessment, mate?
It felt like the scorecards had been written before they even turned up. That's what it felt like reading them scorecards. I mean, look, I've watched it 3 times in total.
Not about Tony Bill, you?
No, I know. He had him 7 points in front, didn't he, going into the last round? Or I think he had him 13-0 up at the end or some shit like that. But look, it was a back and forth fight. I mean, Jamie Moore and them said that, Regis won the first 2 or 3 rounds. For me, he won the first 6. Right, and he got a knockdown. So he's 7 points in front. Now, I know Catterall got a 10-7. I didn't have Catterall winning all 6 of the last 6. I had him losing at least one of those rounds, or there was one. I haven't got my scorecards here in front of me, but so for me, I had it sort of a draw. I've had it a draw this morning. I've had it a point to Catterall and a draw again. So I've had it close, something like 115, 113, that type of fight, it felt like to me. A point in it, either way, a round swing, either way. To give Regis 2 or 3 rounds in the whole fight, for me, felt like they decided on who was going to win that fight, and they either filled him in at the end really quickly, or they had him in the pocket folded up ready to go. Obviously, no, that wasn't the case, or I'd like to think that was the case. But we shouldn't be sat here talking about judges. It was a decent fight, right? Regis boxed really well the first 5 or 6 rounds, pulled away on a bit of a lead. Jack Catterall had to change something. Don't think he really did change anything. Just Regis slowed down and wasn't able to get out of the way of shots that he was getting away from in the first 6 rounds. I was disappointed a bit in Jack's performance. I think the 2 knockdowns have sort of glossed over how shitty his first 6 rounds were, because he was just plodding forward doing
He looked flat as a pancake. I said it, didn't I, on the live?
Last night. I don't know whether it got to him being the headline in his home arena as such, but yeah, I don't think he beats Teofimo Lopez on a performance like that. He certainly doesn't.
Lopez got a good record against Southpaws.
Yeah, he doesn't beat Porro. Porro smashed him to pieces. Absolutely. Yeah. Porro smashed him to pieces based on last night.
I think Liam Parro could be the best in the division. I honestly do. Richardson Hitchens came out and said Parro's not going to make it to the Jack Catterall fight. So you'd have to think that Eddie's going to line up the winner of that, because they're both promoted by him anyway from Co-op Live fight against Jack Catterall. But just back onto it, his record against we know Teofimo blows hot and cold. We've seen him in some very weird and strange performances. George Kambosos, although he had a lot going on at the time outside of the ring, I think he was going through a divorce and there was other stuff going on. What was the other one recently? He fought someone, Jermaine Ortiz. He fought and Sandor Martin, and and then obviously he's had some very good ones as well. Lomachenko clearly being the main one. Josh Taylor again. I don't think Taylor was right that night either, but these are lefties that Teofimo seems to perform well against. Jack Catterall fits into that mold as well. I think that's a tough night to work for Jack Catterall as well. I put out a poll about 2 or 3 hours ago. It's got 35 odd comments. I put out a tweet asking if Jack Catterall would be a world champion. It's very literally split almost 50-50 down the middle.
What about Adam Azim
against Jack?
Yeah.
I think Jack wins it right now, but the gap.
I'm not sure he does. I was struggling with Prograis' speed last night, and I think Azim's faster and hits harder than Prograis. Obviously, they're not going to make that fight. There you go. Look, Dalton Smith. I think Dalton Smith would give Jack Catterall nightmares.
I think it's a good fight.
I couldn't care less if Taylor never boxes again. I'm bored of it, Josh Taylor. Me, swear to God, I am bored of him. I thought he'd retired.
Pat said, "Have seen the fight a few times. The margin was too big on the scorecards, but Prograis better at the beginning than flip flopping." Yeah, so I think that most people I've spoke to, Pat, have had it sort of either a round or two in either direction. So the fact that three judges.
Yes, Mr. Neutral. How we doing, brother?
Yeah, I hope you're well, Mr. Neutral. Yeah, and boxing video game wishlist site. Thanks for joining us. Southpaw versus Southpaw, weird matchups. Sometimes they're slow to get started. They are. It was. Yeah, you see that quite a lot. Yeah, Neutral, I think that's about to be announced, mate, isn't it? Any day. Because Eddie done the interview the other day and goes, I've got a new signing, but I can't say this special thing about them, or it'll give it away. But poor Josh is on the slide, isn't he? He's been on the slide for a while now. His decline's actually been one of the fastest declines that I can remember in recent times, from right the way at the top. So I think because he was match made so tough coming up. He had the Victor Postols and the Baranchiks, and he had a lot of tough fights, didn't he, before he was in the World Boxing Super Series. I think that kind of the tough fights that he was in before that maybe just caught up with him and killing himself to make 140 every single fight as well. He's stuck at one. Realistically, I think he'll regret it in 10 years' time once all the dust has settled that he didn't go to 147 off the back of winning undisputed against Ramirez, and then he fought Catterall, didn't he, the first time after he beat Jose Ramirez, and then that was. He's never looked the same, really. He's never performed, really, since he performed all right in the rematch with Catterall. Don't get me wrong, it was a good fight, but he's not been the Josh Taylor that we.
It gets smashed to bits at 147 if he goes.
Yeah, I don't think it ends well for him at 147. I don't think it ends well for him in any fight. Eddie's 3-fight deal is going to be using him as an opponent against his other guys, in my opinion. But Josh Taylor brings a name. You can sell the undisputed honors and all the rest of it, but. He's been in some great fights over the years, Josh, but I just hope he doesn't take one too many fights, because he is on the decline sharply, in my opinion. He should fight at 147. It should be. He shouldn't be making 140 anymore. He looks like a skeleton every time he steps on the scales for me.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Not a fan of Josh Taylor.
Catterall can't handle Paro or Teo Lopez in the ring. It's a step above where he was before. Catterall will be knocked out in these fights. I think he looked a bit vulnerable at times last night, Jack.
Yeah,
I do.
Way too many shots.
I know he was dropped by it. It was just a jab, wasn't it? It was a flash knockdown. It wasn't.
He slipped, but he didn't slip. He got knocked.
Well, it was a knockdown, wasn't it? Regardless, if he can say he slipped all he wants, a right jab landed by Prograis, and he was on the deck. He wasn't hurt. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think, Pat, we're going to see Teofimo Lopez fight again at 140 pounds. If I'm being honest, I think he'll vacate. I think he'll fight Brian Norman potentially for that WBO 147 strap. I think that'll be his next.
Might never see him box again, to be fair. What about Keyshawn Davis?
Is he not at 135?
He's on about moving up, though, wasn't he?
Oh, right. Sorry, him moving up.
He's big for 135.
Yeah, no, he is. You're right. Nutria's cooked at 140. Josh Taylor, cannon fodder. DJ Patsy.
Yeah, he's pretty good at 147. Like you said, I don't think he's got much left at 140. I think he's a bit past.
You can't continually do that to your body every time, and he's just too big for 140, and he's stuck at the weight.
Missed his
I
shot.
actually think that it's an ego thing with Josh Taylor a little bit too. Everyone tells him that he has to move up, and he's dead at 140. And I think he just wants. He strikes me as the kind of character that just want to prove it to people that can make 140. I'm still good at 140. There's no point almost moving up now. The time's been and gone. He's took 3 fights too many at 140. Catterall 1, Catterall 2, and Teofimo. He's took 3 fights too many. He should have gone after Ramirez.
But that's what the damage is done.
Damage is done now. He's going to get knocked out soon. He's never been stopped, has he, Josh? But he'll get knocked out soon. Catterall given stick in the past. Last night when he pulled out the goods. I had it 114, 111. Judges are wild at best of times. Yeah, it was good winner of Para Hitchens next. Yeah, I think that's fair. Neutral 3 rounds to Catterall. I can definitely get on board with that. Last night when Matty pulled out the goods, I think that's a good point on it as well. He was, in my opinion, losing the fight in the midway stage. I think most people thought that as well. Prograis was probably on top at that point, but you have to give him credit there, Jack, because he was, whether he was obviously up on the judges' scorecards, which is ridiculous at that point. I thought Prograis was comfortably doing enough by that point, but to pull out the 10-7 at that point, and there were heavy knockdowns as well. The left hand was an absolute peach, the first one. And the second one was a cracker too. But to pull that out as a I famously was on the live last night saying Jack Catterall's got no power and he couldn't crack an egg. And then, of course, he goes and nearly knocks Regis Prograis out cold in about 30 seconds after. But you got to give him credit there, Jay, 100%. He was down and he pulled something out.
Yeah, he did. He did, He did it when it mattered.
Say he was down. He clearly wasn't down, obviously. He would have won the fight without the knockdowns.
Well, yeah.
Which I don't agree with.
Judges' scorecards, I just can't get over. I'm pissed off with it, man. It upsets me, man. It upsets me because,
And Regis is so humble as well.
Yeah, and I think, because he got knocked down twice and got buzzed, I think he saw that as, him losing the fight, and he was struggling in the last few rounds, but it sours the win for me. It overshadows the win for me. Okay, the right man won, in some opinion, not mine. I think a draw was a fairer result, and it sickens me because either we have incompetent judges that don't know what they're watching, or we've got judges that are biased towards a organisation, sanctioning body, or promotional company. Something needs to change. We need boxers as judges. We need boxers as decision makers within organisations and sanctioning bodies. It can't continue to go on like this because, there's people risking their lives, their livelihoods, for what? To get shot on at end of 12 grueling rounds. So for me...
Yeah, and he might not have won the fight, but he didn't get enough just credit for his performance. That's my opinion.
It overshadows it. It overshadows it. It takes something away from Catterall, and his win. He still gets the W, but for me, it'll always leave a sour taste in my mouth. I mean, Tony Bell, you were feeding into it as well. He had him 7-0 up or 7. Didn't he have him 6-1 up after 7 rounds or something mad like that?
No, he had it after the Prograis knockdown. He still had Catterall a round up or something when it was pretty clear to see at that point that Regis was ahead in the fight. It was, it wasn't difficult to know that. Because we were watching it, we had 6 or 7 on with us on the live at the time, and not one. I wasn't scoring the fight, to be honest, but the rest of you were. Not one of you had Jack Catterall ahead at that point. And these are people that watch boxing every single week. Know what the pattern of a fight looks like, and then we're all laughing. Luca brought it up. Bellew's got Catterall 1 point ahead, and it's like, okay, so you knew at that point that there was something going on. But I just want to shout out Mr. Neutral. Actually, I watched. I think you were at the fight last night, weren't you, mate? And I saw your interview with Eddie Hearn as well earlier. So big credit for that, mate. Keep that up. That's very good to see. DJ Pat said Para will KO Hitchens easy. I believe so. I believe Liam Para knocks out all of them. To be honest with you, I think. He's the best kept. He's not really a kept secret anymore after the Subriel Matias performance. But yeah, he's the man, Liam Para, and I think Hitchens is going to get a bit of a wake up call in December. To be honest with you, he waited out Subriel Matias, I think, Not many people wanted to fight that man, did they, when it came to it?
No.
BA was neutral, yeah. Regis was great all week. His attitude, I hope he doesn't do bare knuckle, to be honest with you. I don't know what he wants to do that for. His chin's looking suspect now,
to
Regis.
do it for that, that's why. Because to pay
he was
five
dropped,
times
he was dropped by Devin and dropped hard by Jack.
It's different, man. Get him in with John Dodson. I'd love to see that fight. Get him in with John Dodson. Let him make some money. Because he'll get 5 times what he'll get boxing for Eddie as cannon fodder. I don't want to see him used as a name. Go over to BKFC and make yourself some dough. I'm not a massive fan of it. I watch it because I'd watch 2 tramps fight over a dirty doner kebab on floor. But I know why he's doing it. It's money, innit? I'd do it myself for right price. The prize fighters, and if the prizes are not in boxing, then take your gloves off and throw down. Some good fights over there for him. Some really good fights.
So Conor McGregor, part owner of BKFC, was tapping up Regis after the fight. So potential for that.
I wish he'd just piss off on his yacht and disappear. It does my head in, Conor McGregor now. I'm bored of it. Bored of his fake comebacks all the time and slagging everybody off that's fighting on cards. Anyway,
he needs to actually fight if he wants to
retire.
To do that.
No, he needs to retire. He'll get stoved in if he fights again. But anyway, that's for another live.
Does Jack Catterall become world champion? And that's open to anybody in the comments as well.
Not for me. Not off last night's performance against any of the, the champions. I don't see how. Do you?
Do you know what my opinion of it is at the moment? I don't know. I don't feel like I can give a yes or a no right now. If he was to fight last night against any of the champions out, that WBC belt's going to be up for grabs at some point as well. I think Haney's champion in recess, is he, or something? Sandor Martin's fighting somebody for the full belt. He'd probably get the victory there, but they seem to be going this IBF route. They seem to be quite intent on it. It's in-house for Matchroom, isn't it? It's Liam Parrow and Hitchens, who are both promoted by Matchroom. And Catterall is going to be fighting. That's a dangerous fight, man. That's one of the toughest fights in the division. It really is. Don't be surprised if there's a U-turn there and he ends up fighting Teofimo in a big US Madison Square Garden kind of fight or something like that, if they can get that done. But again, Teo's after big money fights now. Jack Catterall's not going to do anything for his profile or do anything for, he's going for an issue with Bob, isn't he, in Top Rank? So I'm not too sure what's going on there. BKFC as well, not for me. Someone like them fights. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. McGregor's had more comebacks than the flu. I agree with that. Neutral, yeah. He's Catterall champion. No, not even close to get one of them belts. Yeah, so you're on Jay's fight talks side of the fence there, Pat. I'm sitting on it with splinters in my arse right at the minute. I don't know.
There, then.
If you want my opinion on does Jack Catterall beat Liam Parrow? No, I don't think so. I think Liam Parrow beats them all. But that doesn't think that I don't think
mean Jack he couldn't get a title somewhere else. Like you said, he could fight Sandor Martin. I think that's a winnable fight for him.
But no, but just watch there could be a big reverse and change of heart. If Teo moves up and vacates, they're going to be. Well, what are they going to do? Fight Liam Parrow or try and get in for a vacant WBO and then unify against Liam Parrow in a fight after it? That's that's there's moving pieces of the jigsaw here.
Look, I'm not set. Look, right. I'll backtrack here now. Stick it in reverse. If Catterall gets to fight for a vacant title, they will take the simplest route. Excuse me. They'll take the easiest route for him. What the route will Matchroom. So yeah, there is a possibility he could win a world title there based on skill set and performances that we've seen recently. If he fights someone like Parrow or even Hitchens, I think he would struggle. He was having nightmares last night if Prograis could have kept up the momentum and the speed from rounds 1 to 6, 6 to 12, he'd have won that fight easily, but he couldn't.
A 30-year-old Regis Prograis would have beat him last night, I think.
Yeah, we saw. He retired straight after, so he's obviously had his foot half out the door anyway. And if you're thinking retirement, you're not going to perform to your best of your abilities, are you? You're not, because you're not physically able to. It's obviously not there. He's had these thoughts going through camp, hasn't he? When he's getting tired quicker than he normally does. He's getting caught in sparring more than he normally does. So what he's thought is, I'll give it a shot. I will go to Manchester and I'll give it a shot. He gave it a shot. He came up short. But Catterall, if he was of the level of Parro, he would have stopped him. He knocked him down in 2 rounds. He had him in fits and farts coming into round 8. Did nothing with it. Did absolutely nothing with it. I was underwhelmed, should I say. I thought he should have stopped him.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Nutt says there's only one alternative fight for Catterall other than Parra, and that is TO, as Eddie alluded to last night, that TR might be tempted with a matchroom offer. Yeah, and do you know what? I'd like to see that fight, actually. I'd like to see it more than the Parra fight, I think. Yeah, JFT's never far off the money, absolutely. Yeah, I can't see Jack Catterall wanting to fight anyone other than TO or Liam Parra, but that WBC belt's just been messed about. I don't know what's going on with it. Who's got the other one? Jose Valenzuela, isn't it? He just beat Isaac Cruz. I don't know what's going on there. Tank was rumoured at one point. I don't know what's going on with Tank. We'll cover that on Tuesday anyway, about the mess that's going on with PBC and Tank. I know we talk about it all the time, but any other final thoughts, Jay, before we wrap up the weekend?
Junaid Boston, review? Ishmael Davis is looking like a
I mentioned that. Yeah, I want to see that. That's mandated, isn't it?
Yeah, great performance last night. Some body shot that.
That was really good. Soul stealer.
He looks really.
I like
good.
Junaid.
Yeah, I like Ishmael Davis too. I'd like to see them two square off at British. I think that'd be a good fight.
Is Ishmael a little bit like? Has he moved on a little bit further than where Junaid is, or?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it'll be a tough fight, but Junaid's really skillful. So I believe
he's another one with Grant Smith. He's with Grant Smith, isn't he, Junaid?
Not sure. I'd be lying.
I'm sure he's at that. He's with Sonny and all the rest of them. He is, I'm sure, out of that Sheffield gym. I'm sure he is.
But isn't Ishmael Davis? Isn't he with? So he's managed by Sonny, and he's not train. He don't train at Grant Smith. But I know Ishmael Davis is managed by Sonny, isn't he?
That's interesting, because I'm sure Sonny and Junaid are close as well, or they're in the same gym. I'm sure they are. I don't know though. Maybe someone can.
I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree.
Who else boxed last night? There was another performance that I wanted to mention. Crawler, Boston. It's gone.
McCormack.
There you go, Pat McCormack. He struggled in bits of that fight. I mean, he won the fight. He won the fight, but he got hit way too much for me. He was throwing in 2s instead of 4s and 5s as well when he had an opportunity, and he was stepping back and admiring his work. He was throwing this uppercut. It was beautiful to watch, but was just admiring it. Something missing for him from me. Don't know what it is. There's just something missing. Again, his skill set's a million times better than mine, and he'd punch my head in. But in terms of what I see, there's something missing for me. He struggled in parts of that fight. He got a cut, I think. His nose was busted. He was never in trouble, but yeah, I'd like to see improvements.
Okay, so Pitbull's got a rematch. God, I don't want to see that again. Like you say, Valenzuela exposed him in the last fight. Pat, I've no interest in watching that. Pitbull had a good first round, and then chasing shadows all night. Neutral says Ishmael was forced to face Junaid by matchroom staff. I was amazed. I heard that as well. He's just fought Josh Kelly though, hasn't he, at Wembley? So does he?
I wouldn't say forced. I mean, Ishii were calling for that fight 24 hours before, so it's not like it was a surprise to him. He wasn't there just as a fact. He was calling. They were negotiating this fight on X on Friday, so it's not as though it's just come out of blue. He's trying to get himself a big fight. He's doing the right thing, man. That's the way to do it. Sit ringside and get in his face. Not getting his face aggressively, but let it be known that you want that fight. They all want the big fights for the titles. It's right there, staring them in the face. Let's get it made. Could do that in Leeds. Make a big card in Leeds. No, it's not a massive world title fight, but you could close half the O2 off and do it in front of 5,000 or 6,000.
Matchroom, I heard, are going to do 12 shows next year.
Yeah, good luck with that. What?
In
I've
the
one fight on. I've
in
one
the
fight
UK.
on each card.
It hasn't been their best year in the UK, has it? It's going to finish off with Sonny and Galal. I'm going to keep my powder dry for the Monaco announcement that was made earlier. MJ headlining the Monaco card in December. Chev C4 Clark's on it as well. Beatrice Ferreira. Who else is on there? Someone will help me in the chat. Gary Cully against Maxi Hughes, which is a decent fight in fairness. But yeah, I'm gonna keep my thoughts to myself until Tuesday evening around what's happened there, because I don't think the cards are good enough at the minute. I think Sonny and Galal card's decent, to be honest with you. And if they can add Brad Pauls against Kieran Conway to that, which is being rumoured and talked about, then they're either adding it there or they're adding it to a Queensbury card. I think it's Joe Joyce and Tony Yoka are fighting, are they? Or it's rumoured. Or Jarrell Miller against Chisora in January is a Queensbury card rumoured. I think in the co-op. I'm not sure. But
honest to God,
I know that. It's
dog shit.
Yeah, that's not a good card, is it at all? But we'll keep our thoughts. MJ just taking a fight to warm up for a new A in April, probably, I would say. This week, mate, it's Liam Davis, one of my favourite fighters. Actually, I absolutely love him. Not because he's from local enough to where I'm born and raised, but I just love his fighting style, man. It's kill or be killed with Liam Davis. Absolutely love watching him fight. Against Shabazz Massoud, it was meant to happen a few months ago, wasn't it? Davis got injured. There's a bit of spite on it, so I'm looking forward to it. The Queensbury Birmingham cards have been decent this year. The two Monte Carlo Ballroom show. Yeah, it's for Matchroom's Christmas do. Pat is what the Monaco cards for in December. It's for them to go gallivanting at Christmas, because it's it's not. It was Cordina last year, wasn't it? On the E headline. But yeah, not a great card. So I can't even think who else. Who's the chief support to Davis and Massoud?
I haven't got a clue.
Neither have I. But anyway, I'm looking forward to that fight. It should be good. And then Shaki Foster's fighting Hobson Conceição again in what was the biggest robbery of the year so far. Shaq absolutely scored.
I've got a funny feeling though it'll go different in rematch.
Well, it might well do. It's kind of like similar
to disgusting. That was
it was horrible.
That's what Jackie Foster call a robbery.
It was shocking. So hopefully, hopefully if Conceição wins clean this time, then fair enough. But fair play to him for getting that back on. So they're the two big fights that I know of happening this weekend. So we'll preview them on Tuesday. We'll hopefully get a nice little guest for us. No punches pulled. It'll just be myself and you on Tuesday, won't it, Jay? So we're going to try and get a star-studded guest to come and fill in and be the first guest on No Punches Pulled. So we'll see everybody then, and then we'll have probably a few more shows in the week, won't we, mate? And that'll do us till next weekend.
Won't it be the second guest on No Punches Pulled? It won't Troy on No Punches Pulled.
No, I don't think he was. I think he was just a separate interview.
Right. Okay, my mistake.
I don't think we've ever had a guest appearance on there before. But yeah, we'll work on something for 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday for that. But big up for DJ Pat, Mr. Neutral. Luca was with us a little bit earlier. Boxing Video Game was with us. Who else has been with us? I think that's it. Yeah, so thanks, guys. Hope you have a great Sunday evening. Big up to Jay's Fight Talk as always. Go follow him at Jay's Fight Talk on X and subscribe to the Jay's Fight Talk channel for YouTube Shorts. I know you got a few more out this weekend. And boxing wise, we'll see you again on Tuesday. We've got some uncovering to do on what happened in Abu Dhabi last night for our other shows. But have a great Sunday, everyone. Thank you very much. Guys. Take care, Pat. Cheers, mate. All the very best.